Good afternoon, everybody. Today I thought about talking about what it means to follow the wind and how you can actually cheat at life. So, to follow the wind, Taoism does this because the wind is everything that moves, the way everything behaves. The river, the oceans, the way we walk, dance, have fun, the animals, the trees. That's what it means following the wind. As you can see, like the veins in my arms or the branches at the trees, the river, the shapes of the rivers. If you empty a river, look at it from above, you see it looks exactly the same. It's a pattern of discharge. And then we got this pattern of vibration. You can see our brain, the Wi-Fi symbol, the wavy symbol. There's vibration. Two different energies. One is discharge, one is vibration. And this is everything. So, you look at the Vikings, for example, they saw the world as, they called it Yggdrasil. It was a tree. Well, they didn't think that this earth was a tree. They probably knew it was a globe, but what they meant with tree, that their world was a tree, was more like the pattern of itself. It's a universal cosmic pattern that's in everything. It's not a coincidence that the veins are shaped like this, the rivers, the branches, like even the bicycle tracks in the snow, you can see it's shaped exactly the same, It's controlled by something or controlled by nothing. It just moves itself, It's funny how we make a decision to walk a certain direction so that we can reach a certain destination, and then we meet somebody or encounter something that made a huge positive difference in our lives, and we still debate whether it's coincidences or not. You know what I mean? And we also have this stuff like law of attraction, etc. And it's very important for us to recognize what is Instagram spirituality and what is just spirituality, because everything is spiritual, Everything is spiritual. Me sitting here is one of the most spiritual things you can do. Sit here and talk. Even though I'm talking to a camera, it doesn't matter. It don't have to be 3 million years old for it to be spiritual. I'm sitting here talking, sharing knowledge. If I exit this car right here, start picking strawberries in my yard, start trimming branches, whatever, taking care of my yard, that's also one of the most spiritual things you can do. I don't call it spiritual. I call it for what it is. I'm going out picking strawberries. If I go meet some friends, I don't call it, I'm going to have a spiritual encounter with some friends. No, I don't call it that. I just go out and I meet my friends. And it's the most spiritual thing you can do. Everything is spiritual. Same thing with nature. The cities, the skyscrapers, all that shit, still nature. It's just something different. I don't say I'm going to go out in nature. I either say, let's go out to the forest. Let's go to the beach. Let's go out into the mountains. I don't say let me go out in nature. What does that mean? Everything is nature, right? Even my house is nature. If I sit in my room with my computer and a TV and a phone, still nature, We just created this, It might be digital. Me eating mushrooms might be biological, but it's, what does that mean? Mushrooms is the oldest thing on this planet. Yeah, I get it. It's older, and I prefer older. I do. But my phone, just because it's younger, doesn't mean it's not spiritual. Just because it's digital, doesn't mean it's not spiritual. We have to know how to balance all of this. We have to know how to integrate our lives into a world and tell ourselves, how am I going to live in this world with the most quality? How can I get the most quality out of this particular life at this particular time? And that's a spiritual way of living. You don't have to pray to a God. You don't have to go down on your knees. You don't have to do anything like that. What you do is what you do. And if you decide to move while you're thinking, I'm just following the wind, well, then that's great, because you're going to have a different kind of mindset, knowing that you trust yourself to get yourself to where you need to be. You trust yourself that no matter what, you can rely on yourself. I mean, it's a very intelligent mindset to have. But if you don't have it, it doesn't matter, because it's still there. Just like when you take psychedelics, you see all these patterns. You see the branches morphing, the flowers morphing. You look up to the sky, and I don't know what you see. You can see all kinds of stuff. You can see how the world is connected, how the stars connected, anything like that. But just because you saw it on mushrooms or LSD or some DMT, right? But when you're sober, you don't see it. But you know it's still there. It's not the mushrooms. It's always there. The world is projected from the inside of your head. These lenses, my eyes. It's not like I'm looking at something and it's outside of me. No, my eyes are connected inside here, back here. So what I see around me right now is just a reflection of me, a reflection of my inside. So if you were asking me who's God, I would just say, well, everything and everyone. I'm God, you're God. You are God just as much as I am God. You feel me? So I know a lot of people, when they read the Bible, I wouldn't consider myself Christian, but I know a lot of people, when they read the Bible, some cultures, they read Jesus as I. So instead of, reading, oh, Jesus, like somebody else, they read Jesus as, oh, I, Jesus said, I said, etc. But it's also healthy to see it as the other, because I personally believe that, let's explain it like this, like I came here and created you to experience what it felt like to be we, and you came here and created me to experience what it felt like to be we. So we are all just a bunch of I's who came here and created a bunch of yous to experience what it's like to be we. You feel me? So, well, everyone is saying all is one. Yeah, all is one. Of course it is one, because it's still you. But we created this so that we can learn how to love the other, trust the other, live together with the other, and be with the other. So that's pretty much what I believe, and what makes the most sense for me after dedicating, I don't know how many years, 10 years to explore what life is. Why am I here? Why did I come here? Where am I going when I die? Etc. So this is the most logical thing. Well, it doesn't matter if it's logical or not, but this is what makes most sense for me. Just get some air in here. So that's exactly what it means, following the wind. It just is, right? We just are. Life is very simple. We don't have to overcomplicate it. The reason why we're so confused is because we overcomplicate life on a big level. If you gotta go to the bathroom, do number 2. You go to the bathroom and you do number 2. If you want to drive, let's say from Los Angeles to Minnesota, hop in the car and you drive to Minnesota. It ain't much more complicated than that. And what happens in between, well, that's what we call life. You hop in the car, you drive to Minnesota, whatever happens on the way there, that's life. But the decision to go from Los Angeles to Minnesota, that was your decision. But then again, everything that happened in between that we call life, you're still going to debate once you get there. Was that a coincidence or not? Was that a coincidence or not? Was that a coincidence or not? You feel me? Let's say you get a flat tire, all right? Change your tire, but you don't know why you got that flat tire. It might be irritated, like, oh, damn, I got a flat tire. What am I doing now? Fix the tire, feel a little grumpy. Then again, you don't know. If you didn't get that flat tire, you might have ended up in an accident, right? So that's a healthy way of thinking in a positive mindset. Okay, I got the flat tire, whatever, that's life. Fix it, move on, you know? But in the back of your head, you'd be like, maybe I got this flat tire because if I didn't get this flat tire, I would end up in an accident. But then again, if it was a purpose of ending up in an accident, then maybe that's also why I got the flat tire. It goes both ways, you know? It can be dark, it can be light, you know? But that's also life. We all have to accept that. We can't just neglect that. So that's really what it means, following the wind. And it's easy. But the hardest part is keeping it simple and keeping it real. Because we overcomplicate life so much, and we have such a strong defense mechanism within us that we can call it ego, or a branch of the ego that stops us from enjoying life fully and seeing life this way. You know, even though I see life this way, I like to just live in the element of surprise. Because if let's say we could control everything in this world with just our thoughts, let's say we could do that, then I swear, life would get boring after a while, right? Life would get real boring. I imagine we've done that at some point, realized it's very boring, and then we created this, a world where we can live in the element of surprise, where it's not boring anymore. You know, I know it's a lot of suffering, a lot of crying, a lot of sobbing, a lot of depression, but at the same time, it's a lot of love, it's a lot of hugs, it's a lot of laughter, it's a lot of smiles, it's a lot of dancing, having fun, you know? So that's pretty much, I think, why we created this. Pretty much, like, let's say we die, right? Go back to where we were before we were born, if that's the case, or just evolve into something different. And let's say we go back to where we were before we were born and be like, damn, that's right. If that happened to me, I would be like, I think I would miss this place so much, even though there's so much suffering. As I said before, there's so much happiness, love, you know, all these feelings to feel. I love feeling. I love to feel. I love to remember. I love to forget. I love all this stuff. I think I would miss it so much I would create it again. I would recreate it. I would come back. I don't know what the ultimate goal is. I know a lot of Buddhists and different cultures, their goal is to not come back here. And I don't know why. Maybe that's why I'm still here, you know. That's why we call each other old souls or young souls. And I know when it comes to me, like, I'm not a young soul, that's for sure. But how old am I? And what more do I have to explore? What more do I have to learn? You know? Because looking back in my life, like a few years before, I hated to feel, you know. I liked taking drugs, you know, to not feel, if you know what I mean. A lot of people, I think, understand. But now I'm like, hell no, I don't want to take this drug. I don't want to take those drugs because I want to feel, you know. Being sober is nice. It makes it boost my energy, my creativity, you know. And then maybe a few times a year or once a year, take some mushrooms, smoke a joint. You know, that's my kind of vibes, you know. I don't drink alcohol that much. Maybe a beer sometime, once a month. I'm more of a plant guy, fungi guy, you know. Most of the time, I'm just chilling, feeling life, feeling what it feels like to feel. That deep, but also that simple, because life is just that simple. Yeah, I mean, that's all. Oh, that's what it feels like to follow the wind. That's what it means to follow the wind, and that's how you cheat on life. Knowing life, knowing that it's an element of surprise, knowing that it just is what it is. But once you figure that out, it gets simple. You can go back to school. It's called life. Hop back on the curriculum and just live and enjoy. While you're here, do your best every day, and don't judge yourself, because it's hard sometimes, and sometimes it's easy. No matter how much money you have or how broke you are, it doesn't matter. That's just something else. Like, money doesn't play here on this plane. Like, we all need money and we do that, but that's something completely else. We can talk about that some other time. But right now we're talking about the soul, following the wind. Do what you love, most of all. When it comes to money, just do what you love. I mean, no matter what, you're going to get paid for it. If you do what you love and you do it good, you do it well, you're going to get paid for that. Yeah,